Have you ever stepped out of an air-conditioned room and felt like the outside air is trying to melt you? Now imagine living in a place where summer hits 120 degrees Fahrenheit. No electricity, no fans, no AC. Yet for thousands of years, people there built homes so clever you can walk in from the burning street and feel the temperature drop by 20 to 27 degrees. In this video, we're going inside those ancient desert houses to see how they used nothing but earth, wind, and water to stay cool, and what we can still copy in our own homes today. My name is Amjad Ali, and this is Old World Mastery, where we steal the smartest ideas from the past and test what still works in the modern world. Today, we'll break down 3 ancient cooling secrets: how they used the earth itself as a giant battery to soak up heat, how they captured the wind and turned it into free AC, and how they used water and underground tunnels to create natural air conditioning centuries before electricity. By the end, you'll never look at your own hot room the same way again. To understand how brilliant these homes were, you first have to feel how brutal the desert really is. At 120 degrees Fahrenheit, your sweat evaporates so fast it barely cools you. Dehydration hits quickly, and heat stroke becomes a real risk. Now imagine trying to build a city in that, storing food, raising kids, working outside. Modern buildings in these places are often sealed glass boxes, totally dependent on huge AC systems. Roughly 1/5 of all electricity in buildings worldwide now goes just to cooling and fans. If the power stops, those shiny boxes turn into ovens. Ancient builders didn't have that option. They couldn't overpower the desert, so they chose something smarter: work with it. They had 2 big questions. How do we slow down the sun's heat from entering, and how do we move out the heat that still sneaks in? The first answer was right under their feet. Imagine you leave 2 things in the sun: a thin metal sheet and a huge stone boulder. The metal gets burning hot in minutes. The boulder warms slowly, then keeps that heat for hours after sunset. That's thermal mass, how dense materials absorb and release heat very slowly. Ancient desert builders turned that into their first weapon. In the American Southwest, the ancestral Puebloians built their cliff dwellings inside huge rock walls. The rock shaded them from direct sun, and its mass smoothed out the wild temperature swings. Where they didn't have cliffs, they made their own. Across the Middle East, North Africa, and Central Asia, you see houses made from thick adobe or mud brick walls. Earth, water, and straw, dried by the sun. These walls could be 2 or 3 feet thick. Daytime heat slowly creeps in from the outside, but it takes 10 to 12 hours to reach the inner surface. By the time that warmth reaches the inside, it's already night, and the outside air has cooled. So at night, they would open small windows or roof vents, flush out the stored heat with cool night air, and reset the house for the next day. In ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia, the same idea shows up in light-colored mud brick homes with small, high windows. Light plaster reflected sunlight, and the hottest air rose and escaped through those high openings. In modern language, these homes turned the entire building into a slow, breathing battery. Instead of letting the sun cook them instantly, they stretched that heat out over time. If you had to choose between living in a modern glass box with full AC or a thick mud brick house with no AC but natural coolness, which would you pick? Tell me in the comments, glass box or mud brick? Thick walls were a powerful shield, but a shield alone isn't enough. You still need fresh air. So the next question was, what if we could command the wind itself and turn a simple breeze into free, silent air conditioning? This is where the desert architects got truly genius. Still air feels suffocating. Moving air, even if it's warm, feels cooler on your skin. Ancient builders figured out 2 big tricks: catch the wind and use rising hot air. In cities like Yazd in Iran, the skyline is filled with tall towers called bodgirs or windcatchers. They're like giant chimneys in reverse. A bodgir has openings at the top facing the prevailing wind. When the wind blows, it gets caught and funneled down through a vertical shaft into the rooms below. Cool air comes in, pushing warm, stale air out through other openings. But the real magic happens on still days. When there's no wind, the sun heats the air inside the tower. Hot air rises, escapes out the top, and that rising column creates a suction. Warm air from inside the house is pulled up and out, while cooler air is drawn in from shaded courtyards or basements. No moving parts, no electricity, just physics. Egypt had similar roof openings called mulqaf, angled towards the cool north wind. In North Africa and Old Spain, builders used beautiful wooden screens called mashrabiya. From the outside, they look like art, but their tiny openings speed up the air passing through, giving a gentle, diffused breeze while blocking harsh sun. So whether it was tall towers, angled roofs, or carved screens, the idea was the same: never let air sit still. Would you trust living in a house cooled only by wind catchers and thick walls with no AC at all? Yes or no? Type it in the comments. I want to see how many of you would try it. Now we've got walls that delay the heat and towers that move the air. But the desert has one more gift and one more secret. What if you could use water and the underground to cool the air even further, like an ancient off-grid air conditioner? You already know the feeling of evaporative cooling. Step out of a swimming pool on a dry day, and that instant chill you feel, that's water stealing heat from your skin as it evaporates. Ancient people used that same effect for their homes. In Egypt, people hung wet reeds or cloth over windows. Hot, dry air blew through, and water evaporated. The air on the other side came out noticeably cooler. In North African courtyards, central pools or fountains weren't just decoration. As water evaporated in the hot, dry air, it cooled the courtyard, and that dense, cooler air slowly flowed into surrounding rooms. But in Persia, engineers took it to a whole nother level by combining wind, water, and underground. They built vast underground water channels called qanats. These tunnels carried water from mountain springs to cities many miles away, all deep under the ground where temperatures stay cool and stable. Now imagine putting a windcatcher tower directly above a qanat. Hot desert air is pulled down the tower, then forced to flow over the cold water in the tunnel. The tunnel walls and water both cool the air, first by geothermal cooling, then even more by evaporation. That chilled, slightly humid air is then pushed up into the house above. No compressor, no fan, just wind, gravity, and cold earth. In other places, people went even deeper. In Cappadocia in Turkey, entire underground cities were carved into soft rock. Down there, the air stays close to the same mild temperature year-round, no matter what's happening on the surface. So what does all this ancient cleverness have to do with your hot apartment or house today? Right now, architects around the world are coming back to something called passive design. It basically means make the building itself do as much of the cooling as possible before you turn on any machines. Modern versions of windcatchers are being tested in schools and universities across the Middle East. Some combine towers with fine mist sprayers to boost evaporative cooling. In Zimbabwe, the Eastgate Center office building was inspired by termite mounds. Its thick concrete structure and clever vents let it cool itself using only about 10% of the energy a normal AC building would use. Cities are also rediscovering the power of light-colored roofs, shaded courtyards, and cool roofs that reflect sunlight instead of absorbing it. All the ideas our ancestors used daily. This doesn't mean we have to throw away AC. But if we start with thick walls, smart shade, cross breezes, and maybe some evaporative cooling, our machines can be smaller, cheaper, and used less often. The story of ancient desert homes isn't just about pretty old buildings. It's a reminder of how creative people can be when they truly understand their environment. Thick earthen walls, wind catchers rising over the rooftops, cool water flowing through hidden tunnels. Together, they formed a silent machine that could keep families comfortable in 120 degrees heat without burning a single watt of electricity. As the planet warms and energy gets more expensive, we have a choice. Either keep building glass boxes that only work when the power is on, or learn from the people who mastered earth, wind, and water hundreds of years ago. If you enjoyed this journey into old world cooling, hit subscribe to join me for more experiments and stories from old world mastery. I've already tested medieval bread, raw honey, and even how Scandinavian cabins stay warm at -30 degrees. Click on the video right here to watch the next experiment and see what other problems our ancestors already solved.